Today on the news and why it matters, the New York Times is after Brett Kavanaugh again. Do they have the evidence this time around? And also, Beto says Texans totally cool with giving their guns away. Got a lot to get into. Starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sara Gonzalez. I can already tell it's going to be a good one. We've got Glenn back with us
How
today.
are you?
Great, thank you. Stu here and Chad Prather.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
It's not lost on me that you're wearing a very heavy jacket today.
It's 7 degrees in here.
It is so cold.
Beck has blood problems.
That's right.
You can't. Gotta keep it cold.
All right, Corn Pop. Keep it
Corn Pop. What's up, Corn Pop?
We are going to get to that later in the show as well. What a bizarre story. But first, so the New York Times published a piece, what was it, over the weekend that I want to get all of your reaction on. I want to thank our sponsor really quickly, Cruise Through History. So there is an amazing cruise taking place in March of 2020.
Tell us about it, Stu. You're going.
I'm going to be on a boat. It's gonna be
I'm
great.
on a boat.
I'm on a boat. It's going to be great. Cruise through history. It's what is it? Italy, Croatia,
He is just
Israel,
like, I'm going to
Greece.
drink and eat.
Well, yes, I'm going to be the one
That's
having
why I
fun.
keep waiting for my lost invitation in the mail. That's where
We
I
sent
would be.
it. I told
I
him.
know
Did
it was
you?
sent.
Yeah,
It was
I
definitely
know.
sent to someone somewhere. But it's going to be great. It's going to be you're going to learn all about history, like kind of the foundations of our civilization from several different perspectives.
Not Stu's.
Not mine.
No.
Well, mine will be from the slurring perspective as I sit by the bar and the pool.
You know, it's
Still
funny
in
because you don't drink a lot.
I
But
don't.
you are in charge of the. You're in charge of the still.
I'm the only one on the boat who's ever had fun that you're invited. So I thought maybe I'd try to represent that. I mean, look at this.
My
Look
wife
at the
is
board.
coming.
Look at the board. David Barton, Bill O'Reilly, Rabbi Lappin, you, Pat. None of these people have ever had fun. So I'm the only person there, really, with the outside possibility of having fun.
Should have talked to you before we planned this.
I mean, we should have been by these two then. There'd be some fun.
There you
That's some
go.
fun.
ComeSailAway.com. Get the details there. ComeSailAway.com.
I think we should go on this boat just to save the ship.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm with you guys, believe me.
Well, there was a very strong Twitter campaign going, and by strong I mean at least 2 people said that they thought that I should be the cruise director.
Was it you two
So-
people?
Well, it was my mom was one of them.
Okay.
Husband was the other.
Yeah, exactly. So the New York Times, they published now I want to make sure I get this straight. They published a piece that was based on a book that is coming out that has
And
not
by
yet been
the
released.
reporter that wrote the piece.
Okay.
Wrote
Yeah.
the book
That
Wrote the book.
Also
Also, I
wrote the
believe,
piece.
wrote the piece.
Interesting.
based on the book.
Based on the book.
Got it.
Based on the book, that Brett Kavanaugh. Now we all remember the Deborah Ramirez.
I didn't until this morning, I will say.
You didn't remember
No,
that one?
I didn't. It was one of the worst accusations, I thought. Not like the most damaging, but like the most pathetic.
Yeah.
Like it was just kind of one of those that kind of came and went very quickly.
This
So,
is the one that Ramirez doesn't remember
no.
it happening.
Bet it was him.
What Ramirez doesn't remember it was him. I can't remember.
Yes.
I got him a little confused. Really, the only one that
No one remembers anything that didn't happen. Is basically what all of the stories are. So what? So the Ramirez one was what?
what was
just
not
want
the
you to
most
say it, not me.
Blasey Ford was the one that was most publicized, right?
Right.
Ramirez was like there was a secondary slew of accusers that came along, some of which recanted, some of which were proven to be completely wrong, some of which were associated with Michael Avenatti. Getting rid of all possible credibility. And she was, I don't remember which group she was in, but what was her accusation? It was just that he exposed himself at a party, right?
Yes. Yes. So
And they shoved him.
yes. Well, that's
So
the new one.
That's the new one.
Isn't this a problem with the friends and not him?
Yes. So okay. So that's the new one.
I was
That's-
minding my own business. I had my penis out, but I wasn't doing anything with it. I was just standing there. And then my friends shoved my penis into her hands.
I want to know.
I don't think he sounds like that.
I want to know who. He didn't do this either. I want to know. How do you do that? How does that? Do you know, Chad?
No, I don't actually. I can speculate. I don't want to speculate, but I
Right.
can speculate.
Right.
You know, I'm at a party. I'm just hanging out.
Literally?
Gosh, it's just stuffy. I need to hang out more.
Right.
So zip, there it is. unfurling from my Tommy John's. Boom, there it is. And my friends, they're such pranksters. They said, you know what'd be fun? I'll tell you what'd be fun. Brett's over there with his wang hanging out. That girl, she does not know what's coming. Wham, there it is, and now it's in her hand. This is dumb. This is absolutely ludicrous. This guy, if Brett Kavanaugh did half of the things he's been accused of, party animal extraordinaire. I mean, this guy, who is supposedly the most straight-laced cat that you've ever seen, get approved to be a judge with the Supreme Court. He's spiked the Kool-Aid. He's walking around the frat party at, with his stuff, junk hanging out. This guy is on fire. He is lit.
He's on fire.
There's got to be some photo evidence somewhere, video.
Or,
somewhere.
even an accuser that says, oh, yeah, I do remember that happening to me.
Yeah.
The problem with this one is, and the New York Times didn't correct it until today, was, we forgot to tell you the person that it happened to says she doesn't recall that.
Let me just tell you, in 46 years of living, Glenn, I remember every experience with a penis that was not mine ever in my life, okay? And I'm just going to leave it right there.
Right. And I would imagine that if you are a woman that doesn't engage for, as a trade, you would remember that too.
I can say you are correct.
Yes.
That would be something I believe that a woman would recall.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, especially
Right.
if the friends were
Shoving it into your hand.
into
But
your
Alyssa Milano gets on Twitter and she's like, we knew.
Yeah.
We knew. And that's the thing. That's the problem. That's why this does matter. Because now you have these people who want to come out with these uncorroborated things, and they have no evidence for any of this stuff, but it could have happened. Oh, well, we knew. We always knew. And there it was. And so the speculation police come back out, and this guy's automatically guilty.
But I love how new unfounded allegations prove the old unfounded allegations. How does this work? And apparently this was floating around at the time. And was not deemed credible enough for the FBI to even look into. And again, when you find out that the person who was supposedly the victim of this does not remember it occurring, you just, if a tree falls in the woods, right? Does anyone hear it? Does anyone see it? This is one of those situations where I guess you could argue maybe she was so absolutely hammered she didn't realize it occurred. That would make it wrong. But it's the idea that, this is going to be something that's going to derail him now. I think that
she was so hammered. I just want to get this right.
Yeah.
She was so hammered that she doesn't remember the 3D penis coming her way and into her hands like a, no pun intended, but like a ball catcher.
Yeah.
And she doesn't remember that.
But
he was totally sober and everybody else was sober. I mean, if everybody's hammered and nobody was hurt, it was just a run-in and a very, don't run with that, you can put an eye out with it kind of thing. Where is the harm? It didn't happen again that we know of. It didn't happen again.
It's just one of those things. If you say I saw Chad rob a bank, and the bank says no one robbed the bank, what do we do with that information? Who cares if you saw Chad rob the bank? The bank didn't think it was robbed.
Yeah, but he's got that look about it.
Yeah, I know.
But the bank was very intoxicated at the time of the robbery.
Well, but certainly, where you're going with this, Glenn, even let's say that this did happen, which it obviously didn't, it would be the friends that would be the problem.
Correct.
Right? That's
Correct.
not
It's
Brett
not
Kavanaugh's
him.
fault.
He might have been out of control. I don't believe any of this, by the way. I can't believe we're even talking about it. But it's the friends. Where is the responsibility of the friends who pushed him?
Yeah. No, you're right, though. We should take a step back here, and because the real important thing is not litigating this nonsense. The important thing is the New York Times had the information that she didn't remember this incident, wrote an article with a brand new accusation that everyone on the left ran with, and didn't include that piece of information in the actual article. They just instead said, oh, well, all these accusations, here's what he did, here's what he did, here's what he did. So all of these news organizations trusted the Times and went with their reporting. And then only later on, I don't remember who it was exactly, but someone else had a copy of the book. Molly Hemingway. Yes, Molly Hemingway had a copy of the book, thankfully, and was like, by the way, in the book it says she doesn't even remember this occurring, which totally blows up the entire story. And then they had to actually issue a correction It was technically not a correction. It was an editor's note. I love that. It wasn't that. This isn't a correction. We're not correcting anything. We're just a little editor's note. By the way, all this isn't true, according to the person who said it was supposed to happen to. But it's like you can't just throw it in as an editor's note. Yeah. Like that's insanity. And so it's not a story about Kavanaugh. It's not a story about the person who was assaulted or accused. Whatever. It's a story about the Times. The Times intentionally misleading America to try to make this guy into a villain further.
So what can we do? Can we take from this? I mean, first of all, I agree with Donald Trump. He should sue him. Yeah. Or he should sue the New York Times. He should sue him.
Yeah. I mean, that opens him up to years of more destructive behavior, right?
But I mean, they're just going to keep doing this to people if they're not called on it, right?
And you know, the other thing is it's showing that the press is just all in. They just don't
They don't care.
They really don't care. And so they're on this path of destruction. They could easily turn around. It's not just about Donald Trump and Kavanaugh. This is the press on almost everything, even the Iranian thing. The Iranian, you know, they're making Donald Trump look like he really wants war. He didn't want war. And they're not telling you the truth of what is really happening there. They're just all in. And I think maybe they just are thinking either so arrogant that we're right and we're in the majority and we're going to win anyway, that it doesn't matter, or they know they're destroyed anyway. They got to keep going down this road because there's no turning back for them.
Yeah, one way or another, that's what they've got to do. And I am trying to figure out what's the sound of one hand clapping on Brett's Kavanaugh. But I seriously though, this thing right here, it's legitimate. This is like if you said Chad Prather did some crazy stuff in his past, you would be.
I'd be like
100% right, and that's believable.
I believe that.
Like nobody's gonna fight that. Nobody. But Kavanaugh, come on.
Yeah. All great points. All right, we've got Beto and gun control when we come back.
Ready to get my gun up.
Are you?
Beto called me.
They're all
Personally.
Personally called me. You ready to get him right now? I know.
Before we get back into the conversation, we want to thank our sponsor, realestateagentsitrust.com.
You're welcome. Realestateagentsitrust.com is my company. Started 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. Started out of frustration, got to know really good real estate agents, 500 best real estate agents in the country, according to the Wall Street Journal. Started just casually asking them, okay, I keep getting bad real estate agents. How do you know? And there's actually a system to it. You actually have to be a professional at that. You can't just bluff it or do it part-time. Realestateagentsitrust.com is a place where you can go and say, I want to buy or sell a house. It's in this market. We will get back to you usually within 5 or 10 minutes. Unless you're doing it at night, it should be within the hour for sure. With a qualified name and an agent that you can connect with. They're ready to sell your house, and they know the secrets of selling the house. There's no part-time agents. No, oh, hi, this is my first job. These are the best people in your area to buy or sell homes. Realestateagentsitrust.com.
So our good friend Robert Francis, he, of course, in the last debate, made it very clear. First, he was shying away from saying we're going to confiscate your guns. Now he's just flat out saying, no, we're going to confiscate your guns. Well, but we're going to buy them back, so you'll get some money for it, right? He went
weird because they didn't own them at any point, so I don't know how they're buying them back.
Now they can buy them, but if they are going to be very, very scarce. I believe in the free market, and I'm sorry, but if you're taking everyone's guns, well, this one's going to be worth a little more.
$1 billion.
$1 billion. So I'd be willing to sell it for $1 billion.
$1 billion per gun.
Not all of them, just one.
Oh, just the one.
I would sell all. Well, okay. Most of mine fell off the boat, right? They're at the bottom of the lake, but the one I've got left, I'd sell for $1 billion. I'd do that.
Yours fell off the boat also?
It's an amazing coincidence.
Yeah.
I want to do a Beto O'Rourke bumper sticker buyback is what I want to do. Now I never owned any bumper stickers, but we should do a buyback program for those.
I like that.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
So he doubled down on his statements, along with a new little fairy tale about Texan gun owners in particular. Watch.
We are proud of gun ownership, but responsible gun ownership that would never entail threatening somebody with that firearm. And so using guns to hunt or for self-defense makes a lot of sense to us here in Texas. But having a weapon of war, and even from those Texans who own AR-15s, they've told me this themselves, I don't need this. I don't need it to hunt. I don't need it to protect myself. It was fun to use. I like taking it out to the range. But if giving this back or cutting it to pieces or selling it to the government helps to keep us safer, then by all means, let's do it, because they'll tell me I have kids in school as well, and they ask me whether it's a matter of when or if a killer is going to come into their school and take the lives of their fellow students or take their kids' lives.
Lots of
Compelling
unpack there.
case.
It really is. What nutless
Really.
wonder has he been talking to? Listen, maybe one person said, I'd give my gun back. Well, why? I mean, what is that person a threat? Do they see themselves as a threat? Here's what I want him to do. I want Francis to go to Baltimore, Detroit. I want him to go to Chicago and start the program there. Get the guns there first. But that's not what he's talking about. He's going to go to law-abiding citizens. These guys are gotten to a point where if we say it louder, we say it more dramatically, if we come up with some kind of compelling story, even if it is a fabrication, and we cuss a little bit more, maybe the voting populace will listen to us. But that's hokey.
You've never been to Texas if you believe any of that story. You've never been to Texas. There is no Texan that owns a gun. Now, there might have been Texans who said, I wouldn't own a gun like that because, sure it'd be fun at the range, but what do you use it for? I'd certainly give mine up. That's not really a real Texan. No. A real Texan knows what the guns are for. They know that Texas was the only place in the world that the Soviet Union did not have a plan to take over. Right. Okay? There was no way they were going to come in and take over the United States and come through our southern border through Texas. Why? Because they knew Texans had guns, knew what they were for, and knew how to use them. There's no Texan that is like, you know what? If it'll make the world, we're smarter than this. If it would make the world safer if I cut up my gun.
Like, why?
How is that going to make?
What are you accusing yourself of?
I just don't trust myself with it.
I mean, right off the bat, like you're talking about red flag laws. The ultimate red flag is someone coming up and saying, "I'll make the world safer if you take my gun." Right? Like that's a real red flag. Right. It's funny because first of all, obviously, people come up to politicians and tell them stories that they are pleasing to their ideas. Right? If you're at a Beto campaign, you already are on board with Beto, and you're telling Beto what he wants to hear. Obviously, he should be skeptical, and that story blatantly isn't true because it's not just a random person or a random gun owner. Think about the person who goes and actually buys an AR-15.
Right.
Like that person is not someone who's never thought of these issues. You don't just go buy an AR-15. It's a couple $1,000s.
This is a gun enthusiast.
Yeah, it's a gun enthusiast. Yeah. It's not something like, well, I guess, let's just give them all up. That just makes
I was out some Friday night. She got a tattoo and I got an AR-15.
It's just not a thing, right? And they pressed him on this a little bit and they said, so what about this, going door to door and confiscating? And he's like, we're not going to go door to door and confiscate these weapons. It's just one of those things where, if you get caught with another crime or someone pulls you over and they look on the back and they see an AR-15, well, then they're going to take it. And it's like, well, by definition, you're saying some people are not going to cooperate with this, and some are, right? The people who are the people most likely to follow the law. Mm-hmm. The people least likely to commit a shooting. Do you understand how dumb of a policy that is?
I only take umbrage
Please do.
with one part of that, and the people who turn them in are the most likely. I understand what you're saying, the most likely to follow the law, but those who have them are law-abiding citizens and will not turn them in to an out-of-control government. Are actually the ones who are following American law.
Right, someone who really respects the Constitution might not turn these things in, but someone who's subservient to law. This law is passed. I really hate the income tax, but I pay it. Right. I know that one has been approved, unfortunately, with the 16th Amendment. But generally speaking, these are a lot of laws I think are BS that I still go along with. And that's just part of American life, unfortunately. But here's a situation where there will be a lot of people who are like, I don't want the hassle. I think it's really bad that I should have to worry about I mean, I used to live on the border of Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and I would be terrified to travel with my gun because if I cross that bridge into New Jersey and get pulled over, I'm going to prison. Yeah. And I think that's complete BS, but I'm not going to be Mr. Tough Guy and protest it by keeping it in my car because I don't want to deal with the nonsense. There's some level of that. I think people will give it up.
Would you turn in your gun?
I don't have it. They are all at the bottom of the lake.
Yeah,
if they hadn't been taken.
Boating accident.
No, seriously. Would you give up your gun if they said, if Beto became president and the Congress said, we're going to take them all?
It's an interesting thing. I mean, my first instinct is to say, F you, no way. You know, if it comes down to a place where I don't think I would. But I mean, you know, I wouldn't want to leave my family without someone like their dad for 10 years either. Like so I don't know. I mean, I think I want to be. I'm going to stay with Mr. Tough Guy until it's real.
And I do agree with Stu on that. I mean, you don't know until you're presented with that situation. I mean, short barrel rifles. There's certain modifications that you can make to an AR right now that would put you in prison. It's a federal offense. So I always tell conservatives who want to come out and blast Francis O'Rourke, remember, you voted for a guy who's sitting in the Oval Office today who also banned bump stocks and has gotten very close on a slippery slope when it comes to red flag laws. So if you're gonna start calling him out, you got to call Trump out too, and that's just being honest because you got to follow the logic. And
what do you think Trump is going to do?
Well, I hope he'll wisen up. Maybe he's just talking pander points at this point in order to
we're going to find out this week.
We'll find out this week. I mean, so the bump stock thing, the banning on that was ludicrous. Even hinting to red flag laws is ludicrous. You know, because where do you stop on that slippery slope? It's so.
If he isolates himself and separates himself from gun owners in America, he'll be done.
He'll be done. It'll be over with.
But will he? Because who on the left is better?
Yeah, but you could suppress. You could. Yeah, the people would be like, you know what?
They're just not voting.
They all suck.
They all suck. We're just not voting.
Maybe they're not voting. Maybe they're not campaigning. Maybe they're not donating. You know, there's a big wide range of activities. They may still get his vote because they see it as a binary choice and he's
2016 and 2020 are much the same. A large portion of the American population are saying, well, which venereal disease are we most okay living with for the next 4 years? And then they're like, you know, I don't want any of them. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I think we need, like the Blaze, we need a T-shirt, a red T-shirt that says "Make Texas a country again." Like that's what I believe, right? That's what we need to do. Because if you don't understand Texas, and unfortunately, Francis O'Rourke does not understand Texas. There is a humble arrogance. There really is that sense of everything's bigger in Texas. And even if you're short of stature, you can drive a big old truck.
So can I tell a story real quick? Let me tell you this. He's right on Texas. My assistant, who is a special forces, very elite special forces from Scotland, United Kingdom. He has protected the Queen. His regiment is the only one that doesn't have to stand when royalty comes in. Wow. They are that elite, okay? He went home to Scotland. He's lived in the United States for a while now. He went home to Scotland. He said, I actually found myself proud. People said, where are you living now? And he said, United States. Where? And he said, I got like this excitement to go, I'm from Texas.
Wow.
And it's true. When you're here, there is something about this that gives you still the feeling that you used to have when you were an American.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute.
Guys, sell the gun, take all the proceeds, double it, and buy all new guns.
Smoke show.
We've got a little over a minute here, but before we go, I just want to get your opinion, gentlemen, on Beto's other story, if you will. He told people a longtime Republican chatted him up in a Bucky's bathroom on guns. And he said, this is going to be strange. Not strange that I'm talking to you while we're both at a urinal, but strange because I'm telling you you're absolutely right on guns. Is that like a thing?
No.
Yeah. Yep. I've had lots of conversations.
You just turn while you're at the urinal and
This is my rifle and this is my gun.
Nobody
this is for shooting and this is for fun.
Nobody talks at a urinal. It's not. And Bucky's, you know, it's a highway stop. They're probably people driving in from out of state. That's probably what it is. And it's, you know, there's no way that
didn't happen.
Beto being at Bucky's is the first thing that's ever made me not want to go to Bucky's. Like Bucky's
I'd
is
live at
awesome.
Buc-
It's like a gigantic convenience store with the best delicious.
It's like a
treats.
Walmart.
I'll eat a kolache on their toilet.
I mean, you don't have to go that far, Chad.
But it's a fact. Cleaner than my house.
All right, Overtime is coming up next. We've still got more to come. Make sure you join us. You can go to blazetv.com.
The kolache or the toilet is free.
Both, I hope.